Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles,
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Lemaster.
and this is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and the points don't matter. Oh, I'm sorry. That's whose line? That's my fault. Sorry. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
Buy a thread, man. Buy a thread.
By a thread, hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
You know, Bon Jovi was living on a prayer, and you're hanging by a thread. Man,
Well, I
you
don't
guys have
believe
a
in
lot.
God, so
Pops it on Front Street.
Oh,
He's like, I don't believe in Bon Jovi, so
snap.
damn you, John Bon Jovi. Such a fun name.
if that's his real name.
Yeah, wouldn't you love your name to be like something that's like really cool like that that rhymes? Like, what if I have a son? Should I name him Miles?
Miles Hiles.
Miles Hiles?
It's gonna happen.
I don't think Sarah would go for that, but
I think
You
that's
should
what we
pitch it
were.
to her. You should pitch it to her and see what she says.
yeah.
So
I
now you
think
want
that's
to know
just
what
what we're gonna call Ryder for the rest of his life.
Miles Hiles? There you go.
Even though that's not his name.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, my name's Ryder, but people call me Miles. I don't know why. Because it rhymes.
Because you're
We're big fans of rhyming and alliteration.
yes, yes, and your aunts and uncles have a twisted sense of humor.
Exactly. Exactly. So guys, we've got some pretty good horror news today actually. I'm kind of excited to tell you some of these. So let's start this week like we do every week and get into the horror news. So, guys, apparently Lee Daniels has an exorcism movie, not Exorcist, but an exorcism movie that he sold to Netflix. It's starring Andra Day. It's sold to Netflix for $65 million.
What?
Yeah, it has. Excuse me. Excuse me. It has Octavia Spencer in it as well. The tagline is Day will play the mother of an Indiana family whose children purportedly become demonically possessed in a
Ooh.
thriller inspired by an actual case. I mean, what do you
And he
guys
sold
think?
that for $65 million?
It says in a case widely covered at the time, Latoya Almonds and her three children experienced strange incidents in their Gary, Indiana home that
Oof.
grew progressively worse, with the children levitating, becoming violent with one another, and speaking in growls and deep voices with no recollection afterwards. Skeptics abounded, but the Gary Police Department, Department of Child Services, and the local church and hospital all became involved, filing reports that took the supernatural occurrences seriously. Officers, doctors, and social workers said they witnessed many of the incidents, including one in which her 9-year-old son walked backwards up a wall. The Indianapolis Star covered it closely as the
I
Department
remember
of Child Services investigated it.
I remember
You
hearing
remember
about
this,
this.
Derek?
I
You
don't
do?
I don't remember. I have heard the story before.
Yes, I'm pretty familiar with this story as well.
Really? I've never heard it.
Yep,
Hmm.
I think there's a couple movies and shows that have referenced this. Um, there was a documentary, the guy from Ghost Adventures.
Oh, Zach Baggins?
Yes. Okay, so we're all on the same page with Zach Baggins, right?
I mean, I personally like Bilbo, but whatever.
Right. Yes, two different Baggins families, I believe.
One Baggins uses way too much hair gel. It's not Bilbo.
Yeah. So that I watched that documentary, and it is atrocious. And he ended up buying, not, I mean, you can look it up. It's not like a spoiler. This is real life. Like, he buys the house and has it torn down.
Of course he
Um,
does. Before that,
and so now
does he say something
nobody
along
else
the
can
lines of,
investigate it.
before that, does he say something along the lines of, "Come on, bro, I dare you. Come talk to me."
Oh man, I mean, it's worth a watch just to make fun of him the entire time.
I bet. Yeah,
God, I
what do you
hope he
guys
doesn't
think of?
listen.
I hope he does. Coming for you, Baggins. So, you guys think this would be a pretty fun movie? You think it'd be scary?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it's a great story.
Lee Daniels is the director of The Butler, among many other prestigious awards movies. So I think he could probably give it a good shot. Sounds cool. Okay, next here we have a little bit of news from Orphan First Kill that we talked about earlier. Remember this?
Not
Orphan, yeah,
specifically, but it sounds awesome.
It's the prequel to the Orphan movies.
yes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so we
Where
have
they're
an
getting a
interview.
20-year-old lady to reprise
Yep,
her role.
yep. So we have a interview here with Isabel Furman, where she states
Wait.
that
Are they going to shoot this movie like they did Elf
no, she's going to be the same. I think she's around the same
to
height,
get
actually.
the right proportional? Anyway, go ahead.
It says she says to reprise a role that you literally did as a kid, as an adult, has never been done before. But it's kind of impossible, and we did it. We didn't use special effects. We didn't use any crazy makeup tricks, and I think that's what makes the movie work, is because you really can't figure out how I look like a 9-year-old, but I do, and it's really creepy.
Oh,
I know how we did this. I know all the tricks, and I'm so thoroughly disturbed right now because I somehow am 9 years old again, and it doesn't make any sense.
oh,
Uh,
that is awesome.
so, are you guys interested to see this movie?
Yeah. Do they
Definitely.
have any still photos or
They
anything
don't.
like that?
We don't have any photos of it yet, but I do. It does show that Julia Stiles is actually in the cast.
Well, I'm glad she got some work.
Yeah, I like Julia Stiles.
Yeah.
Glad she got some work.
She was trying to save The Last Dance.
Or save her career. It's one of
Oh
the
my
two.
God. So mean. So mean. So I'm going to bookend horror news with a couple of new Halloween kills bits of news. So first, we just have confirmation that Nick Castle will be returning to cameo in the new Halloween Kills, of course. So what do you guys think of that?
Very nice. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
And the big news, guys, is that Halloween Kills started filming. It started filming today. And we have a couple of shots shared by our Scream Queen, Jamie Lee Curtis. So you guys wanting to see these?
Yes.
Photos up there.
So here is the latest one she shared of her, Andy Matejcek, and Kyle Richards as Lori, Allison, and Lindsay Wallace. You guys can see that?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
What do you think?
Love it.
They look great, right?
I just want to go give them all a hug.
Yeah, they look great. Jason Blum shared it as well. Jamie also, it's not on here, but Jamie posted a photo of just herself in costume as Lori, in the same outfit that she's in that scene. So Halloween Ends is filming. It's a reality. What do you guys think of that? What do you think of all three of them being together in a bar scene? It looks like
Right? Yeah. I mean, it could be trying to throw us off, though.
it's true. It's true.
They could just be having a drink.
Well,
Yep.
there's a gap in time, right, between the last one and this one.
4 years. Yeah, a four
Yeah,
year.
so this really could be at any point during the movie.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. So yeah, it's that's how exciting is it that it's filming, guys,
It's pretty
and
exciting.
we are, about 8 months away from watching it. 7 or 9 months away from watching it. A full pregnancy away from Halloween ends, which
Oh man, that's crazy to
it's very
think.
crazy. It's
Especially
fast.
when you know someone who's pregnant.
Yeah, I know. It's
Oh,
crazy.
isn't
Hmm.
Billy?
Yes.
That could be
What?
anybody. I don't know if you guys have announced that, so I
No.
apologize.
Well, I mean, we haven't announced it on the podcast, but if you guys are listening, congratulations.
Congratulations.
They don't listen.
No, of course not. Of course not. Those peas.
They have to put up with us talking about horror movies in real life, so
Well, they need to listen to it here as well.
And I remember like it was yesterday taking a picture of your brother and sending it to you with the caption
Oh God, yeah.
that I sent it to
Jordan,
you as.
we won't say the caption, but Jordan used to just roam around like he would hang out, and we hung out all the time. He'd hang out in my room, and Jordan, when he was at like between the ages of 10 and 14, just never wore a shirt. And he was like he just was in his boxers or shorts and no shirt. That's just the way he rolled. Great stuff. I know you're happy I told that story, Jordan. You're welcome. So, guys, um, let's get into it. Lydia picked a movie last week, which was James Wan's 2021 film, Malignant. Um, and we watched it, so we have some thoughts on it. Let's start like we do every week, and let's talk about our Malignant stories. I mean, we don't have the nostalgic ones like we do for, like Creep Show because this movie just came out. But Lydia, let's start with you. This isn't your first time watching the movie, right?
no. I watched it one other time when it came out. And I almost do feel nostalgic for it because I really liked it a lot. And it just, someday I will be actually nostalgic about it because it was so fun to experience. So, but yeah, this is my second watch of this.
Derek, this
This
is
is
this
also,
okay?
yeah, this is also my second watch of the movie, and I was peer pressured into watching it the first time,
Yes.
and yeah, you guys were like, "Oh, you got to watch this movie," and I was like, "Okay, I'll watch it." And then I watched it. I'm like, "What the heck did I just watch?"
That's how we
It's a
felt with
it's a
Lumberjack
good
Man, but
movie
in a
though,
bad way.
so yeah. That's rude, but it's a good movie. So it's a fun movie.
Yeah, this was my third time watching it. Um, I watched it when it came out, uh, and immediately texted you guys and texted you, Lydia, and said, "You gotta watch it. Watch it and let me know what you think. I need to talk to somebody about it because I had a lot to say about the third act of it." And then I watched it a second time with Sarah because she hadn't. I was like, "You've got to watch this movie with me. I know you don't really dig horror, but you've got to watch it." And she liked it, and so then this is my third watch of it. Uh, and I had a good time watching it each time, and I have definitely some thoughts on it, and I really wanted to talk about it. So this is our us being able to talk about it finally on
Finally.
a platform. Yeah, and we'll get right into it and dig into this movie. So the movie opens at this basically gifted this hospital for gifted children, essentially, or neglected children. But we open with this big gothic like hospital on a mountain. What do you guys think of that opening shot when we see the big, like, monstrous mountain hospital?
It's so spooky, and you're immediately like, wait, what? Where are we?
It sets the tone pretty quick, just that first shot, I feel like, of,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're going for gothic horror. Okay.
Yeah, you say going for gothic horror. This movie like made it psyched you out in so many different ways,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll
Mm-hmm.
get into it here in a second. But like this opening shot, it's always really impressive, and I couldn't tell if it was a real place or if it was CGI.
It looked like a composite shot, probably, like either
Yeah,
CGI or miniature.
it
Yeah.
was gorgeous, and I would
Yeah, it's
love
a
to
beautiful
visit a
looking
place
shot.
like that sometime or live in a place like that sometime. It's fantastic, and yeah, it was just well shot. I liked it a lot.
It reminds me of those, those mental hospitals that we always wanted to visit and get spooked out by.
It does, and obviously much better quality
Well,
at
yeah, yeah.
night. But like it was kind of like that shot for
Mm.
Puppet Master, like that big
Yeah, yeah,
by the
yeah.
sea hotel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Big by the Sea
Very
Hotel.
imposing building.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, and with the the darkness and the lighting effects. So
Hmm.
we go in from there and we see a woman and she's like recording herself. She's a doctor, Dr. Weaver, and she's recording this conversation with herself, uh, talking about Gabriel. That's all she's talking about is this person Gabriel, and she's saying that he's becoming more violent recently, and so they've had to restrain him. And then a doctor comes in and says he's escaped. So then we get this Looney Tunes action sequence where we're walking through the hallway. There's a guy loading up a trank gun, and we see like a dude fly through the door, wham, and hit the wall. They slam the door shut. There's chaos going all around. She goes to open the door. One of the doctors said, "Don't go in there. He'll kill you." And the one guy gets his arm slammed in the door and gets all messed up. So the doctor ends up going in, and it's all red in the room. It's beautiful red lighting, and she shoots the the person off screen. We don't know who it is or what it is. She shoots off screen, and then we see the inside of this room, and there's just like dead bodies everywhere. It's just madness. And then they grab. They're like, restrain him, and we see something behind a sheath, like a cloth sheath. Can't quite see it. And then we smash cut. We got to cut the cancer out, she says. And then we smash cut to the opening titles. What do you guys think of this opening scene?
I got a lot of thoughts on this opening scene.
Give them to me, baby. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So the action is pretty good. Some of the acting in it seems a little like the one doctor who approaches her in the hallway and is like giving her the rundown. He's not as believable, but I if you were like to guess what kind of movie this is going to be, this is where the fun starts. Because you go into this scene and you're like, oh man, this is totally an alien movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first thought, especially that very like uh, vague glimpse that you get of whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thought was that this was an alien that they've captured and they've got him in this thing and they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. They were doing experiments or something like that. But yeah, this is where the guessing starts and it's fantastic.
What do you think, Lydia?
Yeah, I like that. You start guessing like what could this be? What could this be? And the trailer, if you watch the trailer before you start watching the movie, you're like, okay, it's a ghost movie. It's a
Yeah, it
ghost
gives
story.
nothing away. Yeah,
It
tells you that it's a ghost movie essentially.
it's a total misdirect from what the movie actually is. But yeah, this opening scene is pretty cool. And then, but like somehow you go into the next scene and you're just like, oh, now we're over here. And you kind of put that like
Yeah,
aside. This crazy thing that has happened, you just like shut it down immediately.
yeah, you're right. I mean, this movie opens with just a such a freaking bang, man. It just hits, and it's a great action. It's a great action horror beat. It ratchets up the tension, and you're just like seeing all this bonkers shit, and you're like, what is going on? And then, like you said, Derek, you're trying to guess what is this? What is it? A monster? Is it an alien? Is it like a demon? What is it? We don't know
Yeah.
anything.
And that's
And
I feel
then
like his your first inclination in any movie is to try to like rationalize it and make it familiar. So you kind of understand, like, oh, this is going to happen because I know what kind of movie this is. So, yeah, my first guess was way off.
yeah, yeah, and so I think it's a fun opening. It sets a pretty good tone for the movie, but I mean it doesn't do justice to the fucking batshittery we end up seeing in this movie. But it kind of starts to put it in your mind that there's some crazy stuff going to be happening. So yeah, like you said, Lydia, we cut from there to a domestic scene. We're in like a domestic suburb, and we see this like beautiful regular house, in like a middle America, it seems. And I mean, we're not. I think it's California is where it takes place, but you have this home, and we're introduced to our main character, Madison, and her boyfriend. What's her boyfriend's name?
Derek,
I know. I just
Yeah.
wanted you to say it.
it's her
uh,
husband, isn't it?
no, yeah, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I don't remember. It's either a husband or
Either
boyfriend. I
way,
think
he
it is
gives
husband.
Derek a bad name.
He is a husband. I do believe it is her husband. So, he's sitting watching like a UFC fight and playing on his phone when she comes home. Looks like she works as a nurse. She's wearing scrubs. She's obviously very pregnant, and she's saying she's having like some kind of issues going on with her. She's not feeling very well. He kind of flips out because we find out why a little bit that there's been a problem here. But we get the inclination pretty early that this guy is a piece of crap and that he's no good. And then out of nowhere, he decides to fucking bash her head against the wall, like just slams it, the back of her head against the wall, puts a huge hole in the wall. Then he immediately apologizes, like I used to do when I would wrestle my brothers and hurt them. But he smashes her head against the wall, goes downstairs. She makes her way. She feels her head, sees it's bleeding, makes her way to the door and locks it. And then as she slides down the door, we see this huge, like, strip of blood. He tries to get in, and she basically ignores him, tells him to fuck off. What do you guys think of this scene?
It's so disturbing. It's so I don't know how I can even describe how I feel about that guy. Like it's so hard to watch. Just someone get totally taken advantage of and abused and just treated horribly like that. It's like,
Yeah,
and he's just like so, like pretty passive about what he just did.
yeah.
But then he's
Hey,
like, he's just gonna do worse.
yeah. Well, and you know that this isn't the first time. Clearly, this is the first time he's abused her or hurt
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
And the fact that he said, I quit drinking for you, and I'm trying, I'm trying to be better. If that's you trying to be better, you need to fucking, I would say you need to die. But that leads us perfectly into the next scene. Derek, do you have anything to add to this scene?
Uh, I mean, nothing that kind of hasn't already been said. It's such a tragedy that so we'll find out here in a couple of minutes. Like this definitely isn't the first time that it's happened, and the kind of the severity of it, and yeah, he gets everything he deserves. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, he does. Because the next scene, we see Madison laying in bed. It's nighttime now, and Derek's sleeping on the couch, and he's awakened by some noises. And we get this really cool scene where like the electricity stuff starts happening with the electricity. Uh, the blender goes off. He goes into the kitchen to see what it is, and as he's looking at the blender, the refrigerator just opens behind him, and then he checks on that, goes into the living room, and the TV turns on. He goes in there and he sees a figure. This is the great. Sees a figure sitting watching TV. He flips on the light and the figure's gone. And you see the cushion decompressing from where there was somebody sitting there. And then he's attacked. Um so uh Madison wakes up and goes downstairs. And do you want to talk about his attack? Well, we don't see his. What do you think of that little attack scene first? Bef- we don't see his death yet, but or what happened to him yet.
So it's like at this point, I'm like, okay, it's like a demon, right? It's some
Hmm.
kind of demon because you kind of see like the shape. It's just black, dark mass, and it's kind of really strange and kind of like smudged out. Like they don't want you to see anything yet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And you're like, okay, that's definitely like some kind of demon. Like there's a weird like fog around it. And like it's classic ghost stuff, like where you see the seat
Yeah,
come up,
classic James
like
Wan
a
style.
ghost was just sitting there, right? But yeah, it just gets better and better.
What do you think, Derek?
Uh, I thought it was gonna be a ghost story.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, this is where the second turn takes. Um, it's definitely creepy, and
Hmm.
you're right. That compression um, was really creepy, and then yeah,
And
it was well shot. The specific sequence.
yeah, it's the James Wanness of it, like the way he
Hmm.
Hmm.
moves the camera and the way it's like just everything's so deliberate. And then when Madison comes downstairs and she sees him dead, and he's like completely all fucked up. Like, I mean, his head's like completely turned around, essentially, right? I mean, his neck's broken
It's like to the
backwards.
side, and it's like
Yeah.
Yeah,
head is
it's pretty
popping up here.
gnarly.
And so then she sees the creature crawling out and on top of him, essentially, out of the darkness. And she, obviously freaks out and tries to run out of the house, and the creature slams the door on her, doesn't let her leave, chases her upstairs. She locks herself in the room, tries to lock herself in the room, and it kicks the door and then kicks her, and she falls and smacks her head, and we end. Uh, Little intense chase scene. You guys like that chase scene?
It definitely throws you off for the way that the rest of the movie plays
Yeah,
out. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
There's another scene in this movie that involves the house. By the way, this house is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
It's really impressive, and I'll identify it when we get there. But yeah, it was a very intense scene, especially since she's pregnant. She
Yeah,
was
so
abused
there's
by her
added
husband, and now she's
added
getting.
stakes. We're already
Yeah.
100% on this woman's side, like you just said, Derek, because not only is she pregnant, but we saw her get abused by her husband, and we just our instinct is to protect her. And
Hmm.
then we see her get like knocked over and her head slams into the ground, and we cut and you know, she's in the hospital, but we don't see her in the hospital yet. We're introduced to our police characters. Shaw and his partner. I don't. What's her name? I forget her name.
Regina Moss.
Moss. Okay. So yeah, Kakoya Shaw and Regina Moss. Which, by the way, Kakoya is such a cool name.
That is a cool name.
It's a cool name, and Shaw is pretty cool, I think. So, what, Lydia?
Yeah, I was gonna say like they call her Reg
Yeah,
sometimes, which I really like that.
Reg. So yeah, and she calls him K sometimes too.
Hmm.
So, Shaw and Moss they arrive on the scene, and we're introduced to this little love bug forensics expert as well that has like a crush on Shaw, and she says, "Hey, look, I've not seen an accident, or I've not seen anything this bad since, unless it was like in a car accident or something. It's pretty gnarly." So they're approaching at this point as a home invasion murder. So uh, when we see Madison again, she's in the hospital, and we're introduced to her younger sister, Sydney. Yeah, Sid.
Hmm.
What's your favorite scary movie? The two Sids in a row.
Two Sydneys in a row.
So we're introduced to Sydney, and she's, waiting by her bedside when Madison wakes up, and she tells her what happened, that Derek's dead, and what have you. And that's when Madison realizes that her baby didn't make it. We find out that the baby just didn't make it. It died. So she lost the baby. And Madison completely shuts down. She's just shut down for the next scene. Uh, the the following scene, we see that she is Sydney is an actress, and she comes in. She's on Broadway or a play essentially, and she's dressed in like this weird you know fairy-ish outfit because she's acting. And Shaw comes in to question Madison, who's catatonic, and basically he tells her that found out that she's had multiple miscarriages before. And so we're led to believe that the multiple miscarriages are from Derek, but we find out later that that's not necessarily the case. But so this is her
Twist.
this is her third miscarriage. And so what do you guys think of this hospital stuff?
Super sad. It's so sad that her sister didn't even know that all that was
Because
going on because
yeah,
Derek was so abusive that he separated her. I mean, it's just classic,
manipulation. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it's just horrible.
Classic abuse shit. Yep.
Hmm.
The acting is really great in this scene, in these scenes.
Hmm.
I feel like she does a great job of you know di- it's Annabelle Wallace, but she does a great job of like displaying that just heartrending depression that she lost her baby again.
Yeah, I teared up. Like
I
I knew it
bet.
had. I already knew, and her acting in that is it's so heart wrenching. It's so she did spot on. I don't know how you can even act like that. Like to take yourself to a place where you're just like screaming, like,
Yeah, that big scream that she lets
ugh,
out. Yeah, yeah, it's
made
good.
me tear up.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. So after this, we find out that Madison, basically, we know that Madison was adopted pretty early. We find out that Madison and Sydney aren't actually blood sisters, but adopted sisters. And she takes she takes Madison home, and she's like, I want to be by myself. I need to be home. I know I don't want to be here, but this is my home. I have to be here. So we get this next little horror sequence at the house, which starts when she's like doing laundry in the bedroom, and all of the lights start to and we see a street light outside start to flicker. And when she looks out the window, she sees the figure that we noticed from the beginning standing in the fog. So she goes downstairs and starts shutting, or she starts closing all the blinds. So she goes downstairs, closing all the blinds. She checks the front door. She goes around to the back door, and it's open. So she goes and shuts the back door again, or shuts it and locks it, and then it kicks open again, and she freaks out and runs upstairs. And we get this awesome, my favorite shot of the movie. We get this beautiful sequence where James Wan shoots it from above the set, essentially, and we watch her go from room to room above the set. We swipe across the top of the set each time we do it. What do you guys think of this little sequence?
So cool. Where you see the hallway and you just see the first floor, and she's on the second floor, and you can see all of it, and it's so cool. The lighting
and the music. The music in this movie is fucking great.
Yeah.
I love the main score. The main score, main score is so cool and scary and fun. This is the scene which you were talking about, Derek.
Yeah, it's such an impressive scene. It's one of my favorite scenes, I think, that I've seen in a long time in any movie. It's so impressive. It's kind of like a dollhouse, like where you could take the top off.
Yeah.
Move through the dollhouse. It's so cool.
Yeah, what a great idea, right? Like what a very creative way to shoot that. I mean, you could shoot that traditionally by, following her in, stationary and she runs, or with her, but
or a bunch of super cuts.
Yeah, it's cut. But to have the thought process to say it'd be cool if we shot it from above and then we do all this is just awesome. Love it.
And the house itself was a perfect choice because it does kind of look like a vintage dollhouse.
It does.
Any other house they could have filmed that in might not have had that same effect, because that one, just the wood and the detail of the different fabrics and everything.
In the layout of the house, of the set that they built, the layout was very interesting because you have that big open concept downstairs, and then you have the rooms in the back, and it's just really cool the way it all plays out. So, it's one of my favorite sequences in the movie, and it's this early, and I was like, well, that one's going to be pretty hard to top, and it doesn't get topped in terms of cinematography, but it definitely gets topped in batshittery. So, definitely. So the next bit we have is Sydney shows up. She crawls up the window because the doors are locked because of that whole instances that just happened. And we find out, she has a conversation with Madison, and her hold a conversation, and we find out or this is where she finds out that Derek was abusive physically as well. Because she sees the hole in the wall, and she says, "What?" She said, "See that? He did that to me. Slammed my head against the wall." And she said, "Look, nobody deserves to die like that, but fuck him." And I was like, "Yeah." So I feel too.
Yeah. We were all thinking it.
We were all thinking it.
There's a scene in this movie that it was earlier in the movie. It was when the cops were at their house and they were investigating everything. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminded me, was that guy's name David Russo, the one who was in the cop TV shows, and he always has those corny one-liners.
Yeah.
Was the mob sent to draw us to the crime scene, or sent to destroy it?
What? Yeah, there was a scene in this movie where they're talking about oh, the word is that he was abusive to her and all this stuff, and the one lady cop has that lollipop, and she was like, "Well, we just established motive."
Yeah, that's what I call motive.
Yeah.
Goes into the fucking Who. You're right. You're right. Yeah, we did skip that scene. It's a little scene where they're doing like an autopsy and they find out. So Reg uh, thinks that she might be involved because it's motive. Um, Kikoya's not quite so sure about any of this yet. Um, but that's kind of where we're at with this. So the next scene we get is our first murder scene, right? Are we at this point?
Kidnapping.
Yeah. No, the murder's first before the kidnapping.
Well, he died. Derek died.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
then
second one is
oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah. So yeah, that's correct. We get the kidnapping in the underground. So we go to like this underground. We find there's a city, and I didn't know this was a real thing. There's a city built underneath Seattle.
Yeah.
So they built Seattle on top of an old city, and so she's given tours of it, of the actual Seattle Underground, because she says, now when I say Seattle Underground, I'm not talking about Nirvana or Alice in Chains. It's the real Seattle Underground. So this woman who we've never met, we don't know who it is given this tour, and after the tour ends, she's by herself down in this creepy underground city, and lights start messing up just like before. Electricity starts being funky. We forgot to add at the beginning of the movie, Gabriel communicates with the doctor through the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that he messes with electricity.
The alien.
Mm-hmm. The alien. So in this scene, that starts to happen, and she hears something down the hallway. So she goes to investigate, and we get a little chase scene with the creepiest thing you can imagine. And she ends up getting kidnapped. Like, she cuts to black when she's finally caught, and then when she wakes up and she's tied up. She's gagged and tied up. And she's like kind of hanging somewhere. We don't quite know why. What do you guys think of this whole sequence?
This was so freaky when she's under there. She was doing great as a tour guide too. I was like into it. Like wished I was there for a second. And then everybody leaves and she is down there alone and just hears this noise. And she's like, what was that? And I'm like, run out of there.
Yeah, get out. Get out. Don't even
What
stay.
are you doing? Like, no way I'd stick around. No way.
No.
She is super brave.
What do you think of this sequence, Derek?
It's kind of creepy. I did not know that either. That it was built on top of another city, and just like, and I think do we go back to this eventually? I think we do, because one of the cops goes down there to
Kikoya does. Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a creepy place
It's a great setting. Yeah, it's a great setting for like a set piece.
The lights start to go off. And then like they go off, and then she hears the sound, and that's what really startles her.
Like, yeah.
And then when she does come to, she's like you don't know where she is. But she's in this place, and
that's so scary. That's a scary thought. Can you imagine waking up and you're just tied somewhere, and there's just somebody over there, and you don't know who or what it is, and she sees like this figure with long hair, like putting on like a jacket, and just like kind of stumbling around all awkwardly, and we're just like, what the fuck is that? What is going on? That's how I felt the first time watching. I was like, what is this? I don't even understand. So the next scene we have is Madison basically has a vision. So she's walking through to do her laundry, and she sees somebody in her the laundry door, like through the glass of the door, and we realize that she is witnessing a murder. So Dr. Weaver, who we met at the beginning, is being attacked, and we see it's the person's doing the attacking is in a long black coat at this point with long black hair. And there's a great little chase scene with Dr. Weaver, and she ends up getting thrown down, and she gets bludgeoned to death with this trophy that has like a knife on it because it's like a doctor's trophy. And she gets bludgeoned. Bam, bam, bam. And it's this, when she's getting hit, it looks so awkward and weird for some reason. And she gets her face smashed in. And the police arrive on the scene, and she was found by her caretaker. And they say that there's the piece of the murder weapon's missing. And then we realize that this entity took it and is scraped off all of it and is going to use it as a weapon at this point, and cleans it all off and has it as like a knife. And our woman tries to escape, and the knife gets thrown right in her head, and she goes, Gabriel talks to her through the radio and says, don't even try it. Because before that, he had a conversation with Dr. Weaver saying, or with her saying, I've waited so long for this moment, but it's not time yet. First, I have to get revenge on all of them, and I'm going to start with Dr. Weaver. What do you guys think of this whole section here and Dr. Weaver's death?
The death is so crazy. It's so freaky. It's very brutal, very gory, even though it doesn't really show anything.
The blood just splatters everywhere.
Blood is everywhere. It's so nasty. But I really like the interaction, that because you get to see the police come in again.
Mm-hmm.
I love the police interactions with each other. They're pretty fun.
Yeah, they are, especially when she's like still like, like the one girl's puppy love with Kikoya.
Yeah.
And she's like, how about you find the rest of this murder weapon? She's like all pissed off about it.
Yeah, he says something like, I wish we could just find the other piece, the missing piece or something along those lines.
She says, don't we all? Yeah.
Don't we all? Wish we could just find the other piece. Like, he's already walked away by this point, and she's just sitting there looking at her.
And she's like, how about you find the rest of this murder weapon?
Yeah.
What do you think of this, that bit, Derek?
It's so I've never done shrooms, but like the way that we'll call it a premonition for now.
Yeah.
The way that her premonition unfolds, it's just like, the walls are melting.
Yeah, and they all move. That is a cool visual. Yeah.
That is so cool. Like the visual effects in this movie are like next level. They're great.
Because it melts. The walls basically melt around her into the scene where she is.
Yeah, and like watching it for the first time, you're saying, okay, well now she's got psychic abilities. She's seeing this premonition of this lady being killed, and then like at some point her sister's over and she's getting sick.
Yeah.
And she's like, I saw this happen. And so it just adds a new layer to that mystery as to what the heck this movie actually is. And but it was fun getting to that point. But it's visually beautiful. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah. So during when they're investigating the murder, they find a picture of a child, and that she had setting out, and we know that she was a doctor of child reconstructive surgery, and she kept all of her files on the thing, so they're going to go through all their files. And Kakoya has the lab mock up, hey, age this photo up for me. I want to see what she looks like, which comes into play here very soon. So they go to the police station about her vision, that she had a vision of this thing, of this happening, and they just can't comprehend this. They're like, what do you mean? The sister makes a funny joke. Sydney keeps making a funny joke about, like, she's like a psychic, right? I played a psychic on a TV show once. You guys use them, right? And Red's just like, no, we don't use psychics. It's not a real thing. We don't consult psychics. So Madison excuses herself to go to the bathroom. And when she does, she gets a phone call from the entity, and it calls itself Gabriel, and it calls her Emily. And she's like, it's he says, your foster parents gave you that, or your adopted parents gave you the name Madison, and that piece of shit gave you your last name, but you'll always be Emily May to me. And so now we're starting to realize that this has something to do with her past. And so she gets out of there. Basically. Because she, is freaked out.
She recognized, like, she says his name.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the phone call, she, like, says his name. She's like, Gabriel, no. And then she, like, freaks out because she doesn't understand why she knew his name.
Yeah. And I think we might have skipped a scene, because I think, let me see if I'm right here. No, that was right. So they go to visit their mother afterwards, right? Yeah. So they go to visit her mother, and her mother's really funny. And she mentions the name Gabriel, and her mother's immediately like, because she goes, Mom, who's Gabriel? So she shows her this video of her as a young girl, and we see her talking to Gabriel, like she's doing like a happy birthday thing, and then she's talking to Gabriel. So then we realize. So then we get into the fourth, what we think this movie's about, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, when we see that it's her imaginary friend, what are you guys thinking?
We're like, okay, imaginary friend. I'm back to the ghost. Like, maybe it's a ghost that's been talking to her this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't you think that you're like, oh, so it's like a dark version of Drop Dead Fred?
Mm-hmm.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? I forget the name of the movie, and it came out like fairly recently, about the lady who was in the dark.
Oh, Lights Out.
Yeah, and whenever you turn the lights off, she would like appear, and when you turn them on, she would disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, it kind of like a couple of parts of this movie, I was like, huh, maybe it's that. But it's not that.
Yeah, so next we get the one of my other favorite scenes. So after
you know what? Before you start this next scene, I just remembered that when she gets off the phone at the police station, she's on the phone in the bathroom, and she realizes, like, oh shit, we got to get out of here because I know the killer somehow from my past. So she like gets up and she's like walks out, and her sister's out there flirting.
Yeah, hardcore. Hardcore.
Which is super sweet. But she like grabs her and she's like, okay, I think we're done here. Let's go. And she grabs her, and the officer was like, "Hey, did you ever get that sketch,
Yeah,
the aged sketch in?" And he was like, "Yeah, I sit on your desk. I thought that's why you brought her in." And he's like, "What? Brought who in?" He's like, "You brought the girl in because I put that on your desk," and he
yeah. I
didn't see
think
it.
that bit is later during the
Oh, is
second.
it? I
Yeah,
thought it
during
was
the
like
second
right when
visit.
she left.
Yeah, it's during the second visit when she goes into the station with the sketch is when this
Okay.
bit happens that you were just talking about. Because this murder scene happens here where she has another vision. First we're introduced to this guy, Dr. something or another. What's his name? Dr. Fields. So Dr. Fields is here. And he's walking, he's basically packing. He's ready to get out of here. He's at the Silver Cup apartments, and he's talking on the phone to somebody else. And then we see stuff. We know Gabriel's in the closet. There's this great, really scary closet scene where we think that he's gonna peer in there, and he opens it, nothing's there, that sort of thing. So it's a real suspenseful scene. He lays down for bed, and then Madison is in bed, and she wakes up, and there's a red flashing light on her face from this flashing Silver Cup sign. And she's laying in bed next to this guy. She has no idea why she's there. And then she sees Gabriel crawl above her, and he uses that knife and just stabs the fuck out of that dude's face. Just like goes to town on his face. And then, you know, she wakes up screaming. What do you guys think of this scene?
It's freaky. That's where you kind of get like the image of the poster,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the
Yeah,
red
she's laying there.
in
Yeah,
her
with the
eye.
red.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. What do you think, Derek?
A plus.
A plus.
You can. This is where I started to kind of piece it together. From just that scene was like the one that I was like, oh, I think I might know what's going on here. Not quite to the degree, but almost. I was like, I think I might know what's going on here.
It's so weird too because when you rewatch, you're like, it's so obvious what's going
Yes, yes, it is. It is. So then they go to the police station again, and uh, that's where she has the drawing because she's like, or she goes to the police and says, "Hey, there's a murder here. It happened at this place." So they go to the Silver Cup apartments and they find the dead body, and then they draw a sketch. Because she sees Gabriel's face, which is this mutated, gross-looking face. So she draws. We see the sketch of it, and Reg says, "So you want me to send an APB out for Sloth from the Goonies?"
I
And
love the sketch so much.
yeah, it's really
All the
great.
sketches make me so happy.
So that's when she leaves because she's like, they think that I did this. They think that I did this. We got to get out of here. Because she has I think that's where she has the phone call with Gabriel, and she gets out, and then so now they're suspecting that it's her because they realize she was one of the patients of Dr. Weaver. So it's all starting to kind of come together.
Like a circle.
Like a circle. Like a circle. So then, as this is going on, he realizes that there's another doctor, Kakoya. He starts doing detective work because that's his job. And he starts doing research and realizes that there's another doctor. And so he goes to the doctor's apartment and opens the door. And when he goes into the bathroom, he finds the dude just like crushed off in a shower. He's dead ski. And Madison is standing there in her dream form. And she's like, Detective, he's still in the room. And we get this kind of like uh, rotating shot around him. And we see Gabriel in the mirror, like hanging from the ceiling. And he jumps down and attacks Shaw, and they fight. And Gabriel ends up jumping out of the window and like parkouring, like hardcore parkouring down the fire escape.
So
So,
cool.
so Shaw jumps after him and smashes himself on a garbage can or a dumpster. And this is what you were talking about earlier, Derek. He tracks him down into the underground city.
Hmm.
And they have a big chase and set piece there where he tries to attack him. There's a great shot in here where he's walking around and we see Gabriel laying on top of one of the things waiting
Yeah.
to attack him. So cool. So Gabriel ends up running off. He escapes. What do you think of this whole scene?
It's so crazy. There's so much going on.
Yeah, like
It's just
yeah.
the way that he's moving. You're like, it's so strange. It's like I can't say anything without giving
I
everything
know, I
away.
know. I mean, everybody knows the twist if they're listening to this, but
Yeah, I mean, hopefully,
yeah, yeah, well, they should be.
it's just Gabriel looks really manly, but it's like he must be demonic or something because his arms are moving wrong.
Yeah, 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 exactly. What do you
Well, not
think,
only
Derek?
not only are the arms moving wrong and the legs and um, but also just the raw strength and agility that
Mm-hmm.
he displays. It at this point, I don't think you still really know or see the connection
Yeah.
because it is otherworldly, and so you're still kind of down that path of okay, well, it's not an alien, it's not a ghost,
Has to be a demon,
maybe
right?
it's a demon, yeah, a demon, and so you're still kind of in suspense as to kind of what is really going on here. And then you have this chase scene. It's a great chase scene. It's it's a lot of fun to watch, and and they get to the underground city, and um, that part is just pretty cool. So it's yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he displays some of
good
that
stuff.
strength during the chase scene as
Hmm.
well, Derek. And some like the awkward movements that you were talking about, Lydia, and just like, but he's graceful but ungraceful at the same time. So you just know something's up. You're like, he's fucking weird, and he's also incredibly thin. Like he just is so creepily thin and like jagged. Jagged is the best way to describe him. Just strange, and he has that fucked
Mm.
up face. And then, so yeah, uh, basically the next bit, they bring in a hypnotherapist to try to hypnotize Madison to see if she remembers anything about Gabriel. So she gets hypnotized. They're at her house. She gets hypnotized and has a flashback, basically remembering uh, that Gabriel would call her all the time on like play phones and tell her to do bad things, and she would do them. And then she remembers hallucinating after her adopted mom got pregnant. She remembers Gabriel telling her to go and cut the cake. So she's in the cake, or she goes into the room with a knife to cut the cake. She's like, but she might get mad. She's like, no, she'll like it. Cut it for her. And she wakes up from her hallucination and she realizes that she's standing above her pregnant mother about to stab her belly to kill the baby. And she wakes up out of it and screams. And then that's when she remembers that Gabriel is her imaginary friend and all the things that he did, And um, so they're like, you want, wait a minute. You're telling me that the killer, because she said the killer was my Gabriel. And she said, so you're telling me the killer is your imaginary friend? So then,
Did anybody else get Drop Dead Fred vibes?
yes, for sure. So then, what do you think of the hallucination scene before the next big thing happens here in a split second? What did you guys think of like the the hallucination scene?
I like it when she's like being hypnotized and she comes like she just starts freaking out
Hmm.
and like the hypnotist just sits there. So like bring her out of it and she's just like
I've seen, yeah, that's great, yeah, because they're like, bring her out, and she's like,
she just sits there. It's like she looks totally indifferent to what's happening. I don't know if she's supposed to be like shocked that this is happening or I
she
don't
got
know
this
what
happens all the
that's
time.
yeah.
Old hat for me. What do you think of this bit, Derek?
It definitely adds the layers of context. Trying to put that all the puzzle pieces together to understand what's going on. Um, it's really the best way I can
Yeah,
describe it.
no,
But
yeah, it does, and it also like the way it does that cool effect again when she's about to cut the baby, and it shows how much of a manipulator the Gabriel is. Now we
yeah,
know, so now we're thinking, oh, it's inside her head, right? She's so this is all crazy because then literally a split second later we cut to the woman in the attic trying to escape, and she finally escapes her chains and falls through the floor, and we realize that she is in Madison's attic, and she crashes through the floor with the police there, and there's this great push in where Madison starts screaming, and we see the police sirens as she's pushing in. So, what were you guys' thoughts when that happened? Your first viewing, if you remember it.
she
Oh
fell through the
man.
floor.
Mm-hmm.
I was so confused.
I was
Not gonna lie
like
to you.
I don't know what I thought either. I'm just like I'm still kind of in shock about it.
You're like, how?
First
On
off,
on this watch, I was like, the whole time she was up there, I was like, oh my God, I know exactly where she is. So I was just like ready this time, but I'm just like, their reaction is like, oh man, that's messed up. They're like, of course she did it. It's just so
Yeah,
like, it's like valid proof that she's been the one doing it.
yeah. Did you guys think that she was framed the first time you watched it? Like
yes.
that it's the demon framing her?
At this point,
Yeah.
I still didn't think that she was like fully involved.
Yeah,
And she
yeah,
was being kind of framed.
yeah. So we get this interrogation scene next, where she's in the interrogation room with both of the police officers, and basically because they went up into the attic and they found the murder weapon, and they found Gabriel's coat all up in the attic. So they're like, you've been doing all this. We found all this stuff there. You've been doing, and she said, I didn't know they were there. I didn't even know he was here. He must have been doing it without me knowing. And Reg is like, no, you're guilty. You're the one that did it. Stop lying to us. And then she screams and says, I'm not lying. And the lights shatter in the place, and we just have like the emergency lights on. And then Shaw's phone starts to ring, and he answers, and it's Gabriel. And Madison is just sitting there calmly, and it's Gabriel, and he has this conversation with him, and basically says, The bitch didn't even know I was nesting in her home. And all this stuff. She said, "Are you trying to, frame her? Is this personal for you?" And he goes, "If my knife would have punctured your face last night, would that have been personal?" And she said, tell them what you used to call me." And she said, "The devil." What do you guys think of the interrogation scene?
Because then you're like, oh man, he is the devil. Like, he is a demon or something. It's so freaky. Really creepy.
What do you think, Derek?
This scene kind of like was the try to find the best way to put it. It was the point where it made me really not expect what was going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because now you're thinking they're two different people.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. It
They
was,
have to be.
Exactly, right? There's no other way that it could be, except, but yeah, so this was kind of like that point where you're like, yeah, now he's definitely framing her two different people. And so,
Yeah, I mean, we all, I mean, you thought it was supernatural too, right? I mean, at this point, you still think that this is supernatural somehow. He's supernatural somehow.
yeah.
It's not just a dude that's blaming her, but I was like, well, maybe it's. I started had some ideas, like maybe it was this or that, and I'll go into them after we reveal what happened. But so Sydney goes and she goes to her mom and finds the adoption papers and finds out where she was adopted from and gets the name of the clinic. So she goes to that cool, creepy place, right? And grabs a bunch of tapes while she's there. There's a great shot when she pulls up where she like almost drives off the cliff.
Dude. Every time you're just like, oh, like
Stop,
it gets
slow
me
down, slow down.
Why are you going so fast?
Yeah.
You're on a cliff.
That's a cliff, brah.
You should slow it down, please. I think that's a brilliant thing that they put in there too, because
Yeah, it is.
obviously she wasn't in any danger. Like, they just did that just to get you.
Put you on edge already because they
Yeah.
trick you. They trick you with these scenes because you think that there's going to be a monster or a scare or a ghost thing, but nothing really happens in this creepy location. I mean, we get scares because it just ratchets up tension, but we don't. There's nothing is there because there's nothing there. It's just an abandoned building. But they do like a great job of building that tension for there not to be anything, right? So she takes him home and watches the video, and this is where we find out the twist. This is where it starts to happen. We find out that Madison had a twin, and basically one of the embryos one embryo ate the other. So the twin was born on Madison, almost like a grown twin, except it's more like a malignant tumor because it didn't fully develop. But on Madison's back half, there is a completely different entity with a head, a face, and little arms, and it's evil and mean. And it started eating away at Madison's body weight, even. It's going to kill Madison to take over the body. So they decide the only way to get rid of it is to remove it. And they can't completely remove it because they share a brain. So the only thing they can do is put the remains of the back into the skull and, hope for the best. What did you guys think when you first saw Gabriel on her back?
I've never been happier. Pure joy.
What, that you knew what was going on now?
Yeah, yeah, finally, I know what's going on. No, but like, I love seeing a horror movie with like a creature feature. Like, I
Yeah.
love seeing creatures, and this one, it was so powerful. And it made, I mean, I swear to God, I was smiling from ear to ear. Like, I was so excited when I saw that thing.
What how about you, Derek?
I felt like Stifler from one of the American Pie movies where he was like, "Oh my God, what the fuck is going on?" I was
Yeah.
so like, my mind was blown. I was like, "What the heck is going on?" Yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised, to say the
I
least.
was so I started to piece together that because I was like, it looks like he's backwards, and I started to piece together that maybe she was being possessed and she didn't remember, but I didn't expect it to be a full ass creature on the back of her of her body, and so essentially, when her head was slammed against the wall, it fractured her skull and
Hmm.
reawoken Gabriel. And he continued to do his bidding. When they're doing the operation and they're pushing him down into her skull, that is so fucking gnarly.
Dude, that's the only part that I'm like, that's not how skulls work.
Yeah, yeah, but it's
That's
so
the only part
gross.
that I don't like is that part. It is gnarly, but I'm
Yeah,
just
it's
like,
so
every time
cool.
I'm like, that's not how that works. You can't just push things in there. That doesn't work like that. That would be really bad news.
So, at this time, simultaneous of this, this is where it just goes off the rail, man. In a great way, in a positive way. But Madison is in a holding cell, surrounded by all these other girls, and they start just deciding to bully her. Especially this one. It starts with this woman with an afro that looks like she just jumped out of the 1970s, like she's wearing bell bottoms and everything. So,
Right? What is up with that?
so
She was
Good
1970s
Lord.
seen
woman,
party, is my guess.
I'm guessing so. So 70s woman and fucking mullet woman. And they
Okay,
start
so I recognized Mullet Woman. Did you guys recognize her?
no.
Um, Dang, what is her name? I'm trying to think of it.
What she
She is in some Quentin Tarantino movies.
Oh, really?
Yes, and she's actually a stunt
Oh,
actress.
it is
Zoe Bell.
Zoe Bell. Yeah. You're
Yes,
right. It is.
love her. I
Yeah,
saw her and I was like, how do I know her? I had
she's
to look it up.
great. She's great in
She's in a
Death Proof.
lot of
She's great
things.
in Death
Yes,
Proof.
she's a
She
stunt actress in a lot of really great movies.
Well, yeah, she's also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Plays Kurt Russell's stunt wife.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "What the fuck is he doing here?" Anyway, uh, so they start kicking the shit out of her. Basically, they knock her down. They start literally kicking her, and she's spitting up blood. Well, they awaken Gabriel, and he stands up, or she sits up, starts like shaking, and then the back of her skull splits open, and his face pops out of her skull, and then she does this thing with her arms and reverses them basically, double joints them, and then she steps, and she's no longer Madison, she's Gabriel. And then Gabriel wrecks the entire place. Like she rips 70s girl's throat out. She she puts her hand, or he, Gabriel, puts his hand through somebody's torso. He does this cool thing where he knocks one of them down and snaps their neck. And then he's gouging Zoe Bell's eyes out when the cop comes and shoots at him, and he blocks it, and then escapes the cell. what are you guys' thoughts on the initial gel escape?
I love it. The scene. How exciting! That's all I have to say. It's like the most exciting thing. You're like, yes. Yeah, and they're basically just like cartoon characters that you're just
Yeah,
like
yeah. I
they're
don't care
they're
if they
there
get
to
killed.
get murdered, and you
They're
know
there to
it.
get killed. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
You see it
Exactly.
coming.
What do you think, Derek?
I feel like this is where they kick the training wheels off and are like, hey, sink or swim.
Yep, yep. So we revealed our crazy, our crazy twist. Now let's pay it off. And they do, because Gabriel just goes through and he lays waste to this entire police station.
Now he
So
is also at the same time manipulating her to think that she is still in the cell.
still in the cell, because the doctor says in one of the
Are you
videos.
sleepy, Derek?
Oh my gosh.
So you're right, Derek. You're right, because the doctor on one of the videos says that he basically makes her think that he basically puts her in a mind prison.
Yeah.
And makes her see what he wants her to see. So, like, that's why we got the whole hallucination things. Because she thinks she's doing laundry when she's actually murdering somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole time, she is sitting in a cell. She thinks she's just sitting in a cell. And Gabriel is just killing everybody. He goes and grabs his jacket, goes and grabs his knife, and then there's this great sequence where he just crushes off the entire police force. What do you guys think of that whole scene?
Man,
There are action movies
it's so badass. It's so action packed that
that
you're
are
just
envious
like, yeah,
of this horror movie.
yes, exactly. It's so fun. I'm like, this is an action movie just because of these scenes.
Yeah, and there's so cool, so many great things that are happening, and the way he's just going through and killing them all. And so he freaking Shaw and Reg get like they get beat up by him a little bit, but then he flings a chair right when he's about to escape across the thing and smacks him with the chair, and blood flies up, and uh, he escapes. And we found out in an earlier scene while he's on his rampage before he reaches them that the woman that was kidnapped is their birth mother, Gabriel and Emily, Madison's birth mother. So that's where Gabriel's heading. In the meantime, Sydney is heading there as well. So everybody's converging on the hospital. And we get the final throwdown at the hospital. What do you guys think of the whole hospital scene?
At first, it's like it shows the hospital and it like kind of pans up to the hallway in the hospital, and I was just like expecting Gabriel to just be like walking through there. And then the sister comes through and I was like, oh, okay, phew. I thought Gabriel was just gonna waltz right in here.
So he kind of does eventually.
Yeah.
He blows up the one dude's pacemaker. And so
yeah, that poor guy's pacemaker straight up blows up. He was like, oh, my pacemaker is like burning right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it just like pops, blood goes everywhere. Such a jump
such
scare
a horror
little bit
movie moment. Yeah,
it's shocking because you're like, oh man, his thing is messing up. He's probably just gonna keel over, and it just pops right out of his chest.
Yes, I love it. So yeah, then basically he's going to kill her. They try to intervene a couple different times, and he ends up flipping the table over on top of Sydney.
The
And
bed. It was a bed,
yeah,
wasn't it?
the bed, the hospital bed,
Yeah.
and pins
Big,
her down.
big, heavy hospital bed. Just
So
flips it right over.
she's pinned down, and he grabs the gun. Gabriel does, and she's yelling at him, or she's yelling for Madison. You can fight him. You're stronger than him. Beat
Mhm.
him. So he goes up and he blows her brains out. But then we cut and we realize that he's just sitting there.
Hmm.
And Madison now has control. She has control of everything now. So he's like trying to escape, and she locks him in the prison and says, this is my body, not your body. I'm not going to be a prisoner of my own body anymore. You're the prisoner. And, this is my sister. She's more of a sister than you were a sibling. And she,
Are you guys laughing at me?
yes.
I am so sorry.
Anyway,
I'm
I'm
crazy
so-
about-
we're
I'm
almost
just
done.
gonna-
We're almost done.
We're
So-
almost through it. You're gonna take a long nap in a second, I swear.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We understand.
So, yeah, basically, she has this self-empowering moment where she takes control of not only her body but her life,
Yes.
and throws it like right in his face. And
Yes.
the last image we see of Gabriel is he's literally locked in this cell. She built him an actual prison
Yes.
in her mind, and he's
where
locked
he
there.
should be.
Yeah, what do you think of that confrontation between the two of them?
I love it. I love when she realizes she's like, he's the one that's been killing your babies.
Yes.
And she gets pissed. She's
Yeah,
like,
because he's been eating
"What?"
them. He's been
Yes.
eating them.
Yes, and her. He's
Yes.
been sucking the life out
Life
of her.
out of her. Yep, draining
since
her.
They were born.
Mm-hmm.
She's so skinny and just sad the whole movie. And that's where I feel like a lot of people are like, this movie gets really boring in the middle. And it's just because she is just skinny and sick and just struggling to figure this out. But it's she is so exhausted and she just realizes it. And she's like, at the same time I was watching it, I realized it and was like, take it all.
Yeah, take
all
your
that
power.
It's all yours. It's literally coming from your body.
Yeah.
You're the powerful one. So good. I loved it. I love when she just takes it. And it's so shocking too, because you see the sister get shot in the head. You're
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah,
And
you're like, what?
Yeah. It's didn't think that was gonna happen. And then it didn't happen, and you're so relieved. What a great scene. What a great end.
What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, so the first time that I saw it play out, I was shocked. I was like, no. But then when you realize that it is just something that she is now projecting onto him instead of the other way around, and then she realizes that, she's been the one who was capable of all these things. So Lydia summed it up very well. It's so empowering. It's so great. And unfortunately, you wonder, outside of just this story, what happens to her beyond that. That I would love to know. I hate when movies end that way and you're just guessing as to what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they almost set it up where there could be
sequel.
another.
Yeah. So here's what's great is I love all that stuff about the indie too, the empowerment of it. And it's, about a woman empowering herself and realizing that she's enough and getting through her trauma It's also about trauma and loss and depression, and it's also about family. She tells her sister, "We may not be blood, but you're my sister, and I love you, and I'll always be here for you." And she uses her strength to throw this hospital bed off of her, and she said, it was never Gabriel's strength, it was mine. And so we realize that she's actually super strong and superhuman. And that could set up a lot of things. I mean, it could set up, so we want to know what happens next logically. Like, well, would she be prosecuted for these crimes? I don't know how she could be. It clearly was not her. We know that now. Everybody, the police officer is there right now to say, no, it was the fucking thing in the back of her skull.
Right.
What do you
but
do?
How do you imprison that?
Yeah.
Without imprisoning her, right?
Yeah, so it just becomes this thing, but it also sets up the ending feels like the ending of like a superhero movie, setting up to like for more adventures, doesn't it? Kind of like,
yeah, I can see that.
Like the way she's like all badass and everything, and then we get that little shot of the light bulb, and we're expecting it to do something, and then we end.
Yeah, it's like, do you guys think? I don't know, because when she lifts the bed off of her sister, it's not like a superhero. Like, she doesn't do it with super strength. She kind of just like uses her, everything she's got in her, but it's not like, super powered like he was. So it's like, what is going? I mean, maybe she just, she doesn't know how to tap into it.
Yeah, not yet.
Quite.
Yeah,
but I'm super interested if they make another one, how that would go.
Yeah, I would be interested in another movie from this series, wouldn't you, Derek?
I would. So here are the things that they're going to have against them in doing something like that.
Well, you have to
came out
jump
in the
genres.
heart of what's that?
I said I feel like you'd have to jump genres slightly.
Yeah.
Make it still bloody, but make it like.
I was thinking more of like its performance, which was hindered by COVID, because I was just glancing at what it did in the box office, and it wasn't like spectacular. And it was because of the real world events that were happening. So I hope that
but it was
streamed to go down this path.
It got pretty good streaming numbers on HBO Max though at the same time.
Did they?
And I bet once some people saw it and it started generating, a little bit more, and I think people are going to be talking about this one.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a sequel. I just was wondering what could happen next.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what could happen next? Oh, man.
And, like, I mean, you didn't, nobody saw this coming.
No.
Nobody saw this coming.
I saw the trailer. Only James Wan can make this kind of batshit crazy movie because he has the clout to do so. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, we'll give you the money. Sure, James.
Sure. And Lydia's right. She did not display, it didn't seem like superhuman strength. So you could go in an area where you need him, and she tries to reason with him.
I guess that's
true.
What I mean?
Like I'll let you out, but you have to help me do something type thing. Anyway, I don't know.
He said he would get out.
Get it? He's back stabbing.
Oh God!
But anyway,
he's like, "I'll be back."
Sure.
She says, "You always were." But that is Malignant. The ending I love. I love the ending of it too. In case that wasn't clear, we've been talking about it for a while. How great the ending is. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Let's start with you, Lydia. What are your thoughts on Malignant? What's your rating? And all that good stuff.
I don't know. It's such a strange thing because, one thing I was thinking about as soon as the movie starts, you get the hospital scene, and then it goes into an intro like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Sawish. Yeah. Yeah.
early 2000s intro, which we've
Mm-hmm.
talked about before on a few movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because in the older movies, we're like, oh, like, this is this lame intro that we have. But in this one, it's almost made me nostalgic for that, like, early 2000s, like that weird, late 90s. Uh, what would you call that intro of just like these,
It's I
cut
would call it
scenes?
I call it exposition dump intros because that's what they
Right.
are. They're there to expose exposition to the audience by showing you basically, hey, here's the backstory for this stuff. Here's what you need to know. So here's some newspaper clips to kind of get you caught up to speed, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of
And that's
what they
exactly what this
are.
did. And we still didn't believe
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, we
Yeah.
still went through this movie, like, ignoring all the
Yeah.
signs
Yeah.
because it was so much like some other movies. And I think he did it so well that he tricked everybody at every different scene that came up. He was like tricking us based on what we already know about
Using
horror
our
films.
knowledge of movies against us. Yeah.
Yes. It's so
Mm-hmm.
freaking brilliant. I love this movie. I'm going to give this. Uh, I, I'm going to give this movie a
So,
10.
oh wow. Okay.
I don't dislike anything about it.
Derek, your turn, buddy.
Okay, so this movie caught me off guard a couple of times, for sure, and it always had me second guessing up until about like 60, like the second half or the third part of the
Act,
movie.
basically. Yeah, the
Yeah, the
third
third
act.
act. There you go. So it always kept. It's so late. Anyway, it always kept me guessing. The first watch, I was very intrigued as to what was going on, and mainly because of the hype that you had given it. I was like, because you were really like into this movie, and I was like, okay, well, it's got to be a good one. And it was definitely a good movie. It was entertaining from start to finish, and some of the visual shots in this movie were like second to none. They were
Mhm.
beautiful. We talked about those, and the visual effects and some of it was really amazing as well. And it's a very interesting story. Um, and if I were to give this, I'm going to give this 8.5.
Hmm.
You
I
know what? I'm gonna go 9.
oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. So, when I watched this, I didn't know what I was expecting. I mean, like, I literally had no idea. I thought it was going to be a ghost story. Went through all the same stuff that we talked about during it. But once it ended, I realized what it was. The movie. This movie is a big budgeted, better directed version of those movies that we would rent on VHS, those obscure back wall horror movies that we'd find. You know, it's the big budget version of that. It's a big budget version of like Basket Case or something like that. It's like just
Yeah.
gonzo bonkers, uh, treats it with respect until it just loses its mind and goes.
Yes.
It's like, so we know, you want fun, here's some fun for you. And we get
Yes.
that kick-ass whole third act where he wrecks the police station. Um, and before that, it's a suspenseful little whodunit horror movie. So it was after that when I was finally able to put my finger on, like, yeah, it feels like a movie that should have been made in the late 80s with the special effects and budget to make it in 2021. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, yeah, I loved it. I am going to give it a 9 as well. I love it. I didn't know. I was like, should I give it an 8? But then you guys talked me into giving it a 9. So, yeah, it has flaws, but it's not going to be for everybody. I can tell you that. There's going to be people that are going to watch this and they're going to hate it. There's going to be folks that are like, this is too silly for me. There's going to be folks that are going to say, this is, I don't get it. And that's fine, you know. But our collective minds are on the same page and we all enjoy this. So, yeah, 9. So, guys, you know what time it is. It's time to Atkinize this movie. Who would
Oh
Tom
my
Atkins
gosh.
play?
Oh, I mean,
Well,
is there anybody else he could play then? Who we all know he should?
Who's
I
that?
mean,
The cop.
Yeah, we're gonna replace
he always
the young cop with.
he always plays the cop every single time. He could be the boyfriend, or
No, he couldn't play the
husband.
boyfriend. He couldn't
well, I
play
mean, he
that.
could.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't want to see him
I mean,
throw a
that's the
girl's
only
head
other
against the
male I
wall.
can think of. Right. I mean,
No.
nobody wants to see that.
He
For
could play
anyone.
he could play the doctor.
That actor. Do you guys know that actor at all?
No.
Jake Abel.
I have seen
I
him in
recognize
other
him from Supernatural, and I think he's in a lot of other things as well.
things.
But
Yeah. What is he playing? Supernatural.
he plays literally their brother, like Sam and Dean's little brother, which is
Oh,
crazy. Yes, which is he gets possessed by Michael, right? The angel.
Yeah, I
His
know
name
who
is
you're talking
Adam
about.
in that,
Yeah.
I believe.
That's funny. Guys, I think that he has to play. Yeah, I would put him as the doctor.
The doctor.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be because I don't know if he could be the boyfriend. I mean, we're doing age. Are we doing age appropriate Tom Atkins or any age Tom Atkins?
I mean,
We
I
just
went
do-
any age Tom Atkins.
We do any. If it's any age Tom Atkins, yeah, we could. He could be the cop. Yeah, sure. Or he could be the boyfriend. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
let's
to
make
your
him-
point, if he were going to have played this role, yeah, he probably would have had to have been the doctor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
went from the perspective of
Any age Tom Atkins, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Usually I think it's 80s Tom Atkins in our head, right? I mean, it's Fog era
Really?
Tom Atkins is who we see in
Right.
our heads. Or maybe even, yeah,
He
or
could've-
maybe even Night of the Creeps.
He could have played Gabriel.
He could have played Gabriel. The voice of Gabriel. That would have been
Voice.
great.
Who did the voice? It doesn't say.
Gabriel's voice was played by Ray Chase.
Ray Chase. Is he in anything?
Ray Chase is in a bunch of shit, it looks like.
Oh man.
Yeah. He's a voice actor, it looks like.
Huh.
Yeah. List of dubbing performances in anime. So I guess he does a lot of anime in video games. Yeah, he's a voice actor.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep, yep.
Yep.
Yep, yep, yep.
Pokemon. Hell yeah.
So Derek, it's your turn to pick. What do you have for us this week?
Derek,
Yeah.
choose your next words wisely. You might get fired this week.
Why?
I'm
Because I
just
fell
kidding.
asleep on the job, or
Yeah. By the way, we said
That's
fired.
a write-up.
We said fired, not tired, Derek.
oh my god, I cannot believe that happened.
You were like,
Oh my gosh.
All right, I'm gonna go with a classic. You guys ready?
Ready?
Ready.
Night of the Sasquatch.
What?
What?
I'm just kidding. I don't even know if that's a movie.
Oh my god.
It totally sounds like a movie you would have picked. Night of the Sasquatch. It's only available if you go to my cousin's house and watch it on his VHS copy.
Good one, Derek.
Oh my god! Now I'm
That's
gonna
how we had to
go.
fucking watch the one movie. Night.
I'm gonna
What is
go
that?
Child's
Children of the
Play.
Night. Child's Play. That's a great one. Yeah.
Yep,
It's a classic.
1988 Child's Play.
Child's Play. Okay.
The original Child's
Ends to
Play.
the end.
All right, you're not fired.
Heidi ho! Ha ha ha. No, you're not fired now. You're rehired.
You are getting a write up for falling asleep though.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get you some coffee.
We're gonna have to open up a Patreon and open up that Buy Me a Coffee app where people can just like buy people coffee. I don't know. You guys know
Yeah,
what I'm
just
talking
send you a
about?
coffee. We'll send you a coffee every Wednesday night when we record.
Yes. I think I need that too, actually.
Yeah,
I mean, to be
do too.
fair, Ellie does have COVID,
That's true.
and she's gotten us up like every night.
Oh.
Poor
thing.
baby.
I know.
So, that is Malignant. Do you guys have any last thoughts?
Go watch it. If you haven't seen it, sorry we spoiled it all for you at this point, but you know what?
If you're
You should've
listening,
watched it.
if you're listening, you know. I mean, this is what this podcast is. We go through
We tell you the entire movie.
Yeah, and then we react to the entire movie. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, ring that notification bell, all that stuff that YouTubers say. I don't know. I'm in my 30s. What do I know?
Just click some buttons and look for
Ding,
us.
ding,
Just
ding.
look for us.
Look for us. You can find us.
It's every Monday. Just every Monday, just think about, oh, I need to look up that podcast that I like about the scary movies.
You can find us online at hilaproductions.com. You can find us on Facebook at Hila Productions. You can find us on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. You can find us. You can find me on Twitter at Racket. Find Derek on Twitter at DDogLeeMaster. And just share, like, subscribe, comment, tell us how we're doing. Suggest some movies for us to do next time. I might listen. Lydia will probably listen. Derek probably won't, but we will listen to them. Derek will say, this movie doesn't look like it was made for $20, so I don't think we should do it. But like, share, subscribe. Any last words, guys? Last words, like I'm going to shoot you after this ends.
Any last words?
Any last words?
It was good while it lasted.
Yes, just 3.
What are they?
That was
Are
it.
they these ones?
Yes, just 3.
Yes, nice. So, for Jamie Hiles, or for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster, I am Jamie Hiles. And remember, we have 3 more words for you. If you're going to scream bloody movies. That's awful. 3 words, scream bloody movies. Bye, guys.